fool. Now, wisdom is something, in the book of Solomon actually, which I love a lot, he talks about wisdom quite a lot. And how he talks about wisdom is like a wife. And he says, I love wisdom, she's beautiful, she teaches me how to do things right, she's a very honorable friend. And it's so awesome how he talks. If any of you guys ever get the chance to read the book of Solomon, read it. Because the way he talks about wisdom is like it's his best friend. He says he does not need anyone else unless it is wisdom. Wisdom was there when God built the earth, which was true. When you think about it, God used wisdom to build the earth, right? Wisdom was there when good happened, and wisdom is there when bad happens, so wisdom can take you away from bad. And oh, wisdom is a beautiful thing. But now, okay, so I'm in Cuba, and I'm thinking, usually on Mondays I start thinking about the class on Saturday, what I'm going to talk about on Saturdays. But this is Thursday, on my way to Cuba, and I know that I don't even know what I'm going to talk about when I come back, because that Saturday, following Saturday, I was going to be still in Cuba. So I didn't have a worry in the world what I was going to be talking about. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just go with a clear mind. I'll get the topic when I'm on my way home or whatever, right? So, oh wait, first before I even get to Cuba, let me say this. A wise man moves when he can. A fool moves when he has to. I learned that on the plane, but I'm going to get more into that later on.
A wise man.
A wise man moves when he can. A fool moves when he has to. So let me just go into that deeper. For instance, a wise person, they wake up in the morning and they seize the day. They know that there's only so many hours in the day to get things done. So wisdom tells their gut, get up and get things done during the day, because the day's going to end soon. And at nighttime, you won't be able to get the stuff done that you have to get done. Okay? I met somebody the other day, and they were saying that they have to hurry up and make it to the bank before it closes. I guess it was one of those old banks that close at 3 o'clock. And I was like, oh, okay. And they said they just woke up. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, okay, people can sleep all they want. I'm not saying anything, right? But they're waking up 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They know they have to make it to the bank for 3, and they're nowhere close to making it to the bank. That's foolishness. Wisdom will tell you, wake up a little earlier, right? You have to know you're going to the bank the day before. But, so, a wise person sleeps all day. A wise person ceases the day, and a fool sleeps all day. A wise person knows they have an appointment and schedules their day around it. A fool pays no mind to the time and ends up being late and having to apologize. A wise person, we're all guilty of that somewhat. A wise person eats and exercises for the good of their health. But a fool eats what tastes good to them, no matter if it's healthy or not. So that, yes, we're all guilty of that one as well. So, or people who, even smoking cigarettes. I don't think there's any smokers in this room, is there? Wow, okay. So even smoking cigarettes, wisdom says, don't smoke it, it causes bad health, but people who smoke it, they still smoke it knowing that it's going to cause something. Then when they get the cancer, that's when they say, oh, I better cut down. Or, oh, I better quit. I saw a man over here across the street at a yard sale with a hole in his throat smoking a cigarette. A hole in his throat. And he cannot speak.
Yeah. Smoke free.
Smoke free for 3 years. So you're not a smoker. There you go. And you quit on your own. With wisdom. You didn't have to worry with someone that's a fool, and please forgive me, people on the internet. You should call me a fool. But people who they're not really paying attention, what do? They wait till their health starts getting bad, emphysema starts kicking in. Is it emphysema? Yeah, emphysema starts kicking in, and then they're like, well, maybe I should cut down. I was just saying that there was a gentleman across the way here at a yard sale who had a hole in his throat, and he was still smoking. So, you know, that's what we look at in life when we have to know, you know. And then there's that old saying where it says, a wise person listens to advice and slows down, but a fool rushes in. Now, the Proverbs even says stuff about wise people, and it says that an ant is wise. Proverbs 6, verse 6 to 8 says, go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. And so even in there it says, the ant herself, we all see ants going across, marching across. They're busy, they're working, they're preparing because they know for the rest of the next couple of months, they're going to be underground. How are they going to get above the ground and the snow? So they know we have to prepare now. Don't wait for the snow to come and sit back and be like, how are we going to march across that blanket of snow? They'll die before they even get across the snow. Ants alone are smarter than half human beings. Yes?
But some people like bury ant holes. It's funny.
Some people what? Bury ant holes.
It's funny.
But the thing is too, I know, and I used to when I was a little girl, go and mess them right up and everything, and we're camping so they can't come and march into our tent. But they're so smart that all of a sudden you turn around within an hour, that ant hill is back there again.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I went to Cuba. And it's my first trip off the North American continent, my first international trip. And so, of course, I was thinking, my plane leaves at 3:30, and I need to be at the airport 3 hours early. I know not everybody gets there 3 hours earlier, but I'm like, I'm going to get there 3 hours earlier, bring my laptop and work on my book while I'm there and everything. So then I thought, I might as well get there half an hour before 12:30. So I get there 11:30 in the morning, and I'm relaxed. And then finally, they weren't even opening up the gate yet for us to check in our baggage. So I went when it was baggage check time, and I felt good. After I gave my baggage, everything was good because I looked on the internet beforehand. They told me how many pounds I'm allowed to bring. I even weighed my luggage before I went to the airport. I was on the button with my luggage, prepared. They took my luggage away. I was able to go into the little duty-free area, and I was able to sit down with our coffee and everything. And then all of a sudden they said, we're now going to be boarding flight 671. So I said, okay, that's my flight, all right. So we all start boarding. All of a sudden this guy comes over and he starts running over and he said, oh. And he looks at me and I look at him, I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I almost didn't make it. And I was like, oh, okay, is this your first flight or something? He's like, no. And he's sweating and sweating. He's like, I'm a pro. And I said, oh, okay. He's like, I've been to Cuba thousands of times. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm thinking, wonderful, God, he's making me stand, because they call you by your row, your seat number, right? So I was on my way there, number 9 row, and he was number 9 as well. So I'm thinking, God sat me beside somebody who's knowledgeable. You know, someone that's been to Cuba thousands of times, and he's going to give me all the tips before I get there, and everything's going to be good. Okay, so he says to me, he's sweating and everything, and I said, why? And he says to me, oh, I'm sweating. I'm like, why are you sweating? Well, because I rushed here. And I said, well, didn't you know you had your plane at like 3:30? Yeah, but you don't have to get here 3 hours before the gate opens. Like, they'll hold it for you if you're a little late. So, hey, come on in.
Sorry.
No problem. So he says that to me and everything. Then all of a sudden I hear the woman say, please have your boarding pass ready. So I'm like, all right, I have my boarding pass. I know what that is, a little piece of paper. I look at him, and he's just like looking around. And I'm thinking, he knows what he's doing. I'm the novice here. He doesn't need to take his paper, I guess. He has some other pass. So we get to the front, and I give the woman my pass, and she says, thank you, have a nice flight. And I'm going down the little walkway thing, and I turn around, he's not there. And I'm like, where's Buddy? He's supposed to be teaching me some things here, right? And he's still not there. So I get on the plane, I found my number seat and everything, stowed away my on-board luggage, sat down on my seat, and here comes Buddy. And I look at him, and I'm like, what took you so long? He's like, oh, couldn't find my boarding pass. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the most important thing to have aside from your passport. But anyway, he's like, oh yeah, I couldn't find my boarding pass. And so I said, all right, that was it. We sat down. Everything was cool. So we got to Cuba. Cuba was awesome. It was beautiful. Everything, everyone says what it is and everything. So obviously we get there. I saw him around, that night we arrived there quite late. They had some drinks and some food and everything by the pool for everyone, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to settle in and go to sleep. But I did see him around, and then the next morning for breakfast, I went and I first looked all around the resort to see what was going on, and I thought, let me go get some breakfast. So I'm sitting down eating breakfast, but he comes in. And he sits down, he says, hi. I'm like, hey, how you doing? He sits down, he's all happy, giggly, he's in Cuba for the 1000th time. And I was sitting there. So the woman comes over to him, and she says, hi, sir, you like I get you a drink? And he says, yeah, that'd be nice, that'd be great. So then, she says, what do you like? Water, agua, tea, coffee, beer, or wine, red wine. Now, out of all those options, I don't know about y'all, but none of them are any different than Canada. Okay, so I thought, well, he's gonna know what he wants, right? Not prepared at all. But it was the first meal, so we can forgive him. And he was like, well, I'll have, wine. She says, okay. She walks away. And he's like, calls her back. Breakfast? Breakfast. Okay. Oh, we're on vacation, love. Everything's free, right? So then he says, well, come back. Actually, I'll have a white wine, yeah. And she's like, okay. So she goes and she gets one and she brings it back. Okay, so that's it. He does it every single meal. So he's sitting across from the table every time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so the last day, he pulls the same thing. The exact same, doesn't even know what he wants. It's like, dude, the first day you had an option of water, wine, red or white, coffee, tea, beer, right? Like, what's the difference here? So the last day, she goes up to him and she wants her pesos. She wants her tip, right? He didn't give her not one tip the whole time. The whole time. Not even one tip. So and I was watching because by this time I'm fascinated by the man. And I'm on a trip basically alone and I'm watching everything. So she goes up to him the last day. She said, you want I get you a drink? No, the first day she said, you want I get you a drink? And she's smiling and everything. The last day she's like, look, you want me to get you something or not? Right? And then he didn't even notice. And he was like, yeah, I'll have beer. She's like, okay, beer. You want beer? Or I give you some time to think. And he says, no, I'll have a beer. A beer I'll have. So she says, okay. He says, actually, no, change it to white wine. I'll have the white wine. No, get me red. And he went down the whole entire list, every single meal. I am not joking. And I'm like, bud, at least develop a system after the first day. Say you'll drink red wine with breakfast, beer with lunch, and something else with dinner. But make up your mind. Come on in. Oh, nice coral lipstick.
Thank you.
Is there a chair? Here, you can use this chair right here. Okay, I can do it. Thank you. So I'm thinking, bud, develop a system here, okay? No system has he developed by the end of the day. The woman had no patience for him. She left. And she said, I'd be back for you. She sent someone else back and didn't even serve him for the rest of that day. And so, he tried the same thing with the other woman, and the other woman was very patient. Okay, so that was it. And, everything was cool. And by this point, I'm thinking, this man how does he survive his everyday life in Canada? He's Canadian. How does he survive? Do we not know how to be prepared? Do we not know the things that we like? I understand there's lots of options, but we have to prepare ourselves for everything. I prepare my clothes the night before. My parents used to tell me, prepare your clothes the night before. Don't wake up in the morning rushing around wondering what you're going to wear. Very rare do I do that. And when I do that, I feel like, oh gosh, I maybe don't put the outfit together enough, right? I'll be sitting somewhere and be like, oh, that ring I have at home would match this outfit better than this ring, or you know what I mean? I like to be prepared. My clothes, everything, even I need to know how much money I'm going to have in my purse for the next day. I need to be prepared. I'm not stringent with it though. Like I'm not a stickler with it. I'm not one of those people that are always on top of everything. But I do like to make sure everything's all right. Like what if I didn't come to class with notes or know what I'm going to be teaching and I just came in and said, okay guys, so what do you think I should teach today? Yeah, you know, I'm sure we could wing it. And winging things are pretty cool. Yeah?
Did they name you?
Did they nag me?
Yeah.
Who? My parents?
Yeah.
Your grandparents? What do you think?
Listen, you guys have to wake up in the morning and have your stuff.
Where do you think your
prepared
mom
last
got it from?
I've never had this stuff prepared, but I never
Okay,
rush.
that's fine, but I make one that does rush, she never has anything ready. I make sure she has her clothes picked out.
Right. So if you have your clothes the night before, then you know, then you're prepared to do something else in the morning.
You never know what
She
could
said,
be
I'm
thrown
never
your way.
prepared and I never rush. Too proud not to be prepared. Okay, so everything was good. We're headed home. We're on the plane. You know, I get row 14 this time. And of course, Buddy gets row 13. So I have the window seat again. God is good. You know, I love to take pictures and everything. And so I was able to take pictures. And I'm in the 14th row by the window. I look over and there's Buddy in the aisle, row 13. And I, you know, just kind of look at him and I'm thinking, I don't know, still thinking, I don't know, hold on. I don't know how he gets things done. So all of a sudden there's an announcement on the flight. Dinner will be served. We get a complimentary meal. With our complimentary meal, we get a complimentary drink. So they say, the meals today that will be delivered to your seat is chicken and rice or pasta. Easy peasy for me, I'm a vegetarian. The pasta I'll take, that's it. So they start coming down the aisle with their tray and they're serving everyone. He's in row 13, I'm in 14. By row 13, you should know what you want. The announcement started way before they even started to get the meal finished. So they get to him and the flight attendant says, it's a male flight attendant, and he says, sir, what would you like today? Pasta or chicken? And the guy said, sir, I'll be back. Don't do it. An Indian that has no patience on a flight. He said, sir, I'll be back with your meal. You can make up your mind while I'm gone. Right? With a smile on his face, he said that. And so he left. He went all the way down to the tail of the plane, came all the way back up, and handed the guy his meal. And said, here you go. The guy looked and said, oh, I didn't want the chicken and rice. I decided on the pasta. He said, there's no more pasta left, sir. Just like that. And the guy went, oh, okay. So then the next thing happened. They gave us these immigration cards. And they said, fill out the immigration cards. They didn't tell us when. But give me something to fill out, and I'm filling it out right then. I'm going down my tray, I'm going to fill it out and stash it away and make sure it is done so there are no questions asked. We got off the plane, and we arrived. And we're going through immigration, and everyone's getting herded through, hustling to where they have to go. Immigration was crowded. Again, this is my first international flight. And I was like, whoa, holy mackerel. There's all these immigration officers and seats lined up and booths. And then on the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of little computers. And the woman says, you can do it electronically, or you can go over to the officers. It's up to you. So I go over to the computer, and as I'm there, I turn around and I see Buddy is in the computer lineup. And I'm like, he didn't even fill out his paper yet. What is he going to do, right? So he starts looking at everyone, and then he takes out the paper and he starts filling it out on his hand as he's walking to a computer. And I'm like, and he has his stowaway bag like this, and he's like this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like he could have filled that out on the plane, and it would have been such less hassle. So anyway, what happened was, he gets to the computer, slips his slip in the computer, and it spits it back. Well, they asked him a bunch of questions, I guess, because they asked questions, but then it slipped it back out and gave him another extra little slip, directing him to go see an officer. So he had to go to the officer anyway. I get downstairs, and the conveyor belt is like right there, going around and around. I see Buddy's luggage go around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he wasn't even there in time to get his luggage. So now my luggage comes, I grab my luggage. I had time to even go over and grab one of those carts, put my luggage on the cart, and then he comes. And I was like, oh my gosh. Now, the movie that was on the plane was, there was one quote in the movie, and the quote said, "A wise man moves when he can. A fool moves when he has to." And I'm not calling this man fool, because God forbid us call anyone a fool, but he has some foolish ways, in my opinion. He didn't, we all got the cards handed out to us at the same time. We all knew what time the flight was leaving. We all know what drinks we're going to have, what meals we're going to eat. They prepared us on the plane. They say it over the announcement, what we're going to be eating, what we're going to be drinking. And all we have to do is have a choice. And so this is what I'm saying. And I look at him and I'm like, imagine if he does that, imagine what else goes on in his life. And how hectic and chaotic his existence must be, right? And it just, you know, there's a lot of chaos in all of our lives sometimes, but how we remove it is by being prepared. That's it. Planning the day out, knowing what you're going to wear, or if you're one of those people who just like to wing it the next morning, then at least know that you have something clean to wear, or, you know, something. Make sure that there's something going on. Food, make sure dinner is prepared. The night before, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to cook when I go to the grocery store. I just buy what's on sale. But at least I know that when I get home, I have a good view of what I'm going to cook. If I get eggplant, it's on sale. I might not know what I'm going to cook, how I'm going to cook the eggplant, grill it, fry it, steam it, whatever. But I know by the time I get home what I'm going to do, because I thought about what I'm going to do before I get there. I don't just sit in front of my stove and say, what am I going to do with this eggplant? So this is what we have to do every single day. Every single day, be prepared. I'm leaving Toronto, and I decided to take the subway, The subway to the airport. It's awesome. Easy peasy. You get on the subway, you go to Kipling Station, you take the 192, and it lets you right off at your terminal. Now, I got this little coupon thing from Deal Find, and it was $25 for a limousine. And I had the option to buy that limousine, and it could have gotten me right, and you know, taking me from my door all the way to the airport. But I wanted to really soldier it out. My first international trip, I really did want to do it like I don't know, I just wanted to be tough on myself. Soldier it. So I found out about the subway system, and so my son took me to College Station, helped me downstairs. When we got downstairs, there was a guy singing Georgia by Ray Charles. He was one of those guys with the guitar. He's playing Georgia, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw Ray a few days ago, the movie Ray, and I loved it. And Jamie Foxx did an awesome job. No wonder he got an award. I said, I'm going to buy this CD. So I went over to him and I said, can I get your CD? He's like, I don't have one. I said, oh, okay. Do you have a website so I can get your CD when you do have one? No. Is your business card? No. So I'm like, well, buddy went through all this problem to get himself a permit, to know these songs and be able to sing, and he prepared what songs he's going to sing, I'm pretty sure. And he's sitting there with his whole guitar case open for coins and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess I'll see him at some corner sometime. That was it. In Cuba, this guy comes up to me with a guitar, and he starts singing a song, and I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful. And he said, thank you. And he was done. He looked at me and he said, you buy my CD? In Cuba, the man had a CD that he was buying. I've been playing that CD ever since I got home, every single day. Doing my cleaning to it, my cooking to it, and I love it. Now, I'm thinking to myself, somebody in a communistic country who does not have the ability that we have here to do things, he's more prepared. Is it because he's relying on the pesos to pay his everyday stuff? We're just spoiled here. I don't know what it is. I don't know why the man did not have the CD. But I'm thinking to myself, this man needs to be more prepared. He got his butt all the way to the station and didn't even have a CD. So, let me tell you, being wise means planning for later. Planning now for later. But we do it while we can, right now, instead of waiting when we have to. Health. Get your health in order. Get your friends in order. A lot of people, I have this one woman who hangs around all these horrible people that gossip about her behind her back and everything like that. And then one day she, was complaining about them to me, and I said, just leave your friends. Leave your friends alone. And then one day, her friends up and left her, and she's all lonely and everything of that nature, and she's wondering why her friends don't want to talk to her any longer. Her question to me is, why don't my friends want to hang out with me? Because God told you a long time ago to get rid of them friends when you were unhappy with them before, and when you knew they were gossiping about you, and not necessarily right, you know, and hearing it from the grapevine, but right behind your back. They would go to a club or whatever, and she would wear a certain outfit, and she's hot. I think she's hot. She would wear it, and she'd look better than her friends. That's the problem, right? And they would be like snickering about her, laughing behind her back, and you know, she'd walk away to go get a drink, and they would like laugh at her, and she would say this stuff to me. They're laughing after her. They're laughing. They would say to her, "Look, you're so fool," and they would always say the foo-foo they call her, right? And they will tell her that all the time, and she says to me how she knows that they're talking about her. And I said, you've got to leave those friends alone. Prepare yourself another group of friends. Same too is this woman now, her question is, why don't her friends want to hang around her? That should not be the question. The question should be, why didn't you go get friends before? You know, why didn't you listen? And that's when we start getting that little thing inside that says, I got to start eating healthier. Do it. Don't wait. Do it at that moment. God tells me to move, I move. That's that little silent voice inside of us that tells us to move. I will admit, when I was on the beach in Cuba and God told me, you're getting burned, I was like, that's okay, I want some sun. And now, I'm in the shower, and I'm like, because look at this. And now I'm worried about, you know, look at this. Like, it's peeling, and my arms are peeling, and my forehead is going to be peeling soon. I even had a dream last night that I brought a piece of whole skin across my face. And God told me as I was on the beach.
Actually, the skin, I think, isn't that when babies are born with that extra skin, whatever, isn't that with wisdom? They're saying it's like a veil or something.
Yes, but I was having nightmares about the skin coming off me because last night, yes, and then yesterday on top of it, because I like to get a little color, you know, I'm mixed and I'm very pale. So I like to get a little color, but I was born with red hair and freckles. So because of that, I don't tan very well either. So, you know, my son often says to me, Mom, well, you got the curly hair, you know? And our other sister has straight hair, and she has a little bit of the browner skin, right? But I don't tan at all. Never did, always burnt, and it does, some people, they burn, even some redheads, they burn, and then all of a sudden, they call that their base, and it turns to a nice tan. Mine goes away. It goes red, pink, white, and it never tans. So I'm like, well, maybe the Cuban sun will change that. You know, and I really didn't think that. So I get here, and I'm editing my book on a back porch at some pizzeria yesterday, thinking I want more sun. And here I am sitting in the sun, already burned. Okay, the owner of the pizzeria says to me, he says, why are you so far away? I said, oh, I'm getting sun. And he looks at me like, woman, you already got too much. You are red, you know, and here I am. So that was foolish of me. So all of us are foolish.
Every time we go away.
But all of us.
Florida.
Right, in Florida, when I was 13 years old, and thinking that I was going to get tanned, and they have these tanning lamps. Not only did I sit in the sun the whole entire day, I went and sat in the tanning lamps and cried for about 2 days after that. My mom had to rub Landicaine on me. She's like, Suresh, you know you can't take the sun, you're allergic to it. And I'm like, oh. But it's not wisdom. And I have to stop myself, really. So how many of us out there keep saying to ourselves, we have to start eating healthy? Well, there you go. And you know what? It starts with one step. So what you do is you eat this much meat, eat triple vegetables. That's it. Being prepared, God says that when we are prepared, we are in a much better position, not just with Him, but with ourselves, with our family, and with our friends.